Hi, I'm Will Johnson, also known as Power Nerd Insights. I work as a Senior Power Platform Specialist for Vantage 365, and I'd like to welcome you to this Power Nerd presentation. So, welcome everyone to this week's Friday learning session. My name is Will Johnson, also known as Power Nerd Insights. Um, I have been a Senior Power Platform developer for the past 4 years, coming up to 5, and I currently work for a company called Vantage 365. I have been working a lot in terms of Dataverse and obviously a lot through this course. We've been doing the PL200, which covers a lot of Dataverse. Well, actually, today we're continuing that PL200 series. It is the second to last session. And in this session, we're going to be covering how we use the inbuilt template generation functionality that's built into Dataverse and how we basically use that template functionality to build quick and easy interactions for users to be able to generate documentation based upon records and other items in Dataverse. So we do have a pretty solid agenda for today. So we have our introduction. Hi, we're here. Um, and then we're going to kind of go into a few things. We're going to cover the two types of templates that we have available to us in kind of the template generation, and those are Word templates and Excel templates. But the very first thing we need to cover is how we enable the capability for templates to be used within our environments because it is environment specific. Once we've done that and we start to dig into the templates, for each of the template types, we'll cover how we create that template and what the common use cases are for those. We'll then go into our discussion session where everybody's welcome to ask questions. But before we get into how we enable templates, we have our usual rules of engagement. I only have one rule when it comes to these sessions, and that is there is no such thing as a stupid question. I firmly believe this. We're all here to learn, and if you've got a question you want to know the answer to, please do ask it. We will do our best to answer. That being said, we'll move right into it. Enabling templates. Now, I know normally during these sessions I give an overview of what the template kind of setup is and how it's used and what the functionality it gives, but that's going to be a bit more clearly visible when we look into how we create them and upload them and use them. So we're going to launch right into actually enabling it today. So there is one way to enable templates. It's done via the Power Platform Admin Center, and actually to do it, it's really simple. We choose our environment that we want to be in. We go to the little cog icon top right, hit the admin center, hope that it loads. Come to environments. Again, choose the environment that you want to turn this on for. Now, this is worthwhile noting because it is in the environment section. It is in environment specific setting. So if you want this enabled across multiple environments, you're going to have to go in and enable it on each of those environments. We come to settings, and then we have this option just here called templates. And we have this one here called document templates. This is the one we're going to look at today. So you would click on that, and normally what you'd get is when you click on that, you would end up with a pop-up saying, do you want to try it out if it's your first time enabling it? Because on this environment I had it enabled by default, it's not going to show that pop-up, but when you click that and you hit try it out, you've then enabled your template usage kind of feature there. If you've already got it enabled, what you'll end up seeing is this view here. There we go. Quickly generate documents. Hit try it out on that. Great. You can see that there's no document templates to show. So you'll basically be greeted with a template that you could do. You can choose the new button up here and choose what type of template you'd like to do. It's worthwhile noting that today's session is going to focus on the how we generate a personal template. This view is used to create what are known as kind of administration templates that everybody has access to, and I'll get into a bit of a difference between those two when we get into actually Word templates as a whole. Well, so obviously, as you can see here, once I've hit new, I've got the two different types of document templates we can use: Excel templates and Word templates. But what does that mean? How does it work? What's the use case? What's the benefit? It doesn't describe that very well, and we want to obviously dig into that today. So when we look at obviously enabling templates, that's how we do it. We essentially just go into the admin center, go to the settings, choose the templates section, select document templates, and then hit that try out option. And there you go, your document templates setup is sorted. Once we've done that, we then need to work out how we create them. So we're going to start with Word templates because these are a bit more complex than the Excel templates, and it gives us a greater understanding of how we bring our data from Dataverse into these Word templates using that native document kind of templating feature. In the cases of the PL200, for the document template kind of feature, the things you need to know are how to create a Word template or an Excel template and what the use cases for those templates are. We're going to go through essentially each of those for these templates. In terms of Word templates, how do we create them? Well, there are actually two ways for them to be created. There is the advanced settings way, which is through the view that I showed a moment ago, this one here, by going new and then going to Word template and then choosing an entity and then going from there. So this is the advanced view. What this ends up doing is this creates a template that is available to everyone for that kind of entry to use. Doing this requires you to have administrator privileges on that environment because obviously you've got to get to it through the system administrator area. So if you ever want to create a template that's able to be used by everyone, that's the way to do it. But what we're actually going to show today is creating personal templates, which is actually surprisingly enough available to pretty much everybody as long as they have the right permissions assigned to their security role. They don't have to have a system administrator access. So how do we do that? And that's our first thing. Well, to create a Word template, we come to a published model-driven app that we have access to. You can see here I've got an accounts table with 3 entries, and we select a record, and you'll see up here in the command bar we have a Word templates option. If we press on that, and then we choose download template, what it's going to do is it's going to show this pop up here. You can select the table that you want to basically have this template be able to be used on. For the purpose of today, I am going to use the account table because that's what I have it set up for. And then you can select what related data you might need access to when generating this Word template. Now, for the purpose of today, I'm going to choose the contact table. That one there. And you can see here it's broken down by one-to-many relationship, which is obviously parent to child, many to one, so child to parent, and then many to many. So you can pull the information from all the related records to this record into this Word template. Now, once we've chosen what relationships we want, we hit download, and you'll see that over here, we've got a Word document downloaded. Now, if I open that up and choose enable editing, you'll see that it's absolutely blank, entirely empty. We have to customize this ourselves. So I'm going to do a little bit of customization here and call this account contacts summary. And that's great. But we said that we want to be able to pull information from our records and our related information into this template. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing we need to do is make sure we have the developer tab in Word, which is just up here. For me, I've already got that enabled, but if you need to enable that, you're right clicking on the toolbar, you're hitting customize the ribbon, and then on the right hand side, you'll see this developer checkbox. If you make sure that's checked and hit OK, you'll then have the developer tab. We come across to the developer tab, and what we're looking for is this option just here. Aha, one moment. I've noticed something. It hasn't shared the screen. Bear with me. Of course, it was supposed to open up. Okay, bear with me one moment while we get this sorted. There we are. So, covering that again, we need to make sure we have the developer tab. Right click in the bar, customize the ribbon, developer tab checkbox just there. So you see, I've put the detail on the top. I now need to include, let's say, things like the account name, just there. I actually need to make sure I input the detail from my record. To do that, we need this XML mapping pane option here. So we click that, and you'll see over here on the right-hand side, we've got an XML mapping option. Now, you'll have a few things in here in terms of core properties, extended properties, but the one that we are after is the one that starts with URN Microsoft-CRM /document-template. If I click on that, you can see here document template, and we get a drop down that has all of the information that we selected in terms of, you can see here, contact customer accounts. So that right there is the related data in the contacts table based upon the relationship. And all of this here is the contacts information. It's worthwhile noting that for the case of this, obviously I want the account name. So let's hope we can find name. There it is. So you'll need to right click on it, hit insert content control, and for the case of this, I'm just going to hit plain text. That's going to insert that in there. It's going to work well, not a problem. Now, account number, same as before. All we've got to do is make sure we choose the correct control. So right there, I'm going to choose plain text again. And then here, let's say contact. Come down into this, and we're going to say that actually this is the contact name. Let's go for that as well. Last name. There we go. Once that's done, we make sure we hit save. But now we need to be able to use it in our model-driven app. Well, that's relatively easy from that aspect. What we're looking to do is come back to our model-driven app here, choose Word templates, and hit Upload template just there. Hit Choose File, and then select the file and upload. Now you see there, it's personal template created. It will notify you that it is a personal template. Now what that means, obviously we said we discuss about the difference between personal templates and the advanced settings kind of templates. Advanced setting templates are produced in exactly the same way. They're available to everyone, but you have to be a system administrator to kind of produce them. Personal templates are unique to the user and will show up in their list under personal Word templates just here. Now, if I click account, it's going to say exporting to Word. If I open that file, there you go. There's my account name, my account number, and the contact last name there. So very quickly, we're now able to produce an account summary based on that template. There is a lot more you can do with it in terms of addition of things like repeating sections, so you can insert entire tables worth of information. You can do things like conditional formatting with it and a few other little bits. But from a basics perspective from the PL200, what you need to know has been covered there in terms of you are able to create a template by going into either the advanced settings in the document templates and producing a template from there, or going into the actual app and using the Word templates from there. Now, when we look at use cases for this, most common use case that we see is when we are doing things like quotes and proposals. So if you have a sales system whereby you are writing out quotes quite regularly and you have a quotes table, you can actually produce a Word document off the back of that simply by selecting the quote, pressing the produce template, and the Word template will then turn up. Order confirmations is another thing. Once an order is marked as confirmed, using that to produce the Word template is very useful. And another thing in terms of welcome letters. So if you have a client onboarding system that once a record gets to a certain point, you want to send them that welcome letter. you can do it via the system there. So that is Word templates. When we look at them overall, um, very useful, very quick and easy to produce as well in terms of being able to produce a personal one when you need it. But that only works when you're working with a single record. Um, a lot of the time, you might need to produce a report on multiple records across a view. Um, this is where the next form of template comes in, Excel templates. So very similar in terms of the ways to create them. We have two ways to create them in that we have one where we go through the advanced settings. Again, this requires the administrative privileges, but these templates are available to everyone. And then we also have the option to create it from inside a model-driven app as well. So how do we do that? Again, working with the personal templates, it's very, very simple. What we do is we come to our model-driven app and we make sure we do not have a record selected, because as soon as you select a record, the option disappears. But we have this option up here called Excel templates. If we click on that, and then we hit download template, we then get a slightly different pop-up form. We are able to choose an entity, so the table that we want to create this template for, and then a view. Now these views are obviously configured from the views that are in the Dataverse table. If you want to know how to do that, we do have a video on how to configure Dataverse tables in the session recordings. But let's say I want to just choose the My Active Accounts option. Now, if I just wanted the Excel template to have the columns that are available within the My Active Accounts table, that's fine. I can now hit download. But if I want to edit the columns that are visible in that Excel template, I choose edit columns. And then I have a checklist of columns that I can choose. So let's say I want the account number showing and let's say I want where is it? The revenue showing. Let's go for that. It was in here. I know it was. I put it in here. So this is one of the issues with this. It doesn't give you a search functionality. You've got to try and find it yourself. Ah, it has disappeared. Let's go for website then. So once that's done, we hit the download button. And then what we can see in terms of the Excel file, if you bear with me one moment, is we get this here. So already you can see it's filled in the information based upon that view that I have. It's given me my account number, it's given me my email, it's given me my kind of contact details and the website and the extra columns I have clicked. Now if I hit enable editing and then I go, actually I don't quite like the size of this column. Let's resize it slightly to make it slightly larger. And oh, you know what? I'm not much a fan of the blue table design. Let's make it a lovely little bit of purple. Once I've done all that, and let's make the account name bold for the sake of this. And apparently that's the thing that crashes Excel. So save that. Great. The table's looking exactly as I need it to. It's got the right column widths. Let's just extend that a bit more. It's showing the information that I wanted to. The other thing I could potentially do in here as well is put in charts and pivot tables that are based on this table of data. So you see here it's called table 1. Let's say I insert a let's insert a 2D column chart, and let's say actually we select the data and the data range is this table 1 account number. 4. Of course, always handy. Would be useful if we had some data. But in terms of obviously how this works, we include that data in the chart. We reference the table in there. And what we should see is this is how long it's been since I've used Excel. Save that. And similar to how we do with the Word templates, once we've saved it, we close it down. We come back to our app. We come to Excel templates. We hit upload template, choose our XLSX file, and hit upload. Great. Now that I've done that, obviously we could see in that template that it already had those 3 records in. I'm just going to create a new record quickly. And now, because I've added a new record, I want to generate this. So we have it appear in our downloads. And if I just quickly switch over to here, you can see that my new account has been added. So very quickly, we can get a list of all the accounts with the pertinent information, and we've generated that template. It would base itself upon kind of the data that we've put in there, referencing that table and making sure we have our charts and reports written and done for us. So a very quick way that we could produce kind of an overview of everything. One of the kind of more common use cases I've seen for this has been around quote and kind of pipeline tracking. So very quickly, someone can create an Excel template that goes across a quote table. And what that ends up doing is they, at the end of the month, press the button, and there we go. There's our pipeline based upon the data that's in our table for the quotes that we've sent and the work that we've won. That is the most common use case I see for it in terms of the Excel templates, but a useful one to note. So we've now actually relatively quickly covered the Word templates and Excel templates. We've covered the difference between a personal template versus the templates that are created through the advanced settings. They're all created in the same way. The difference is just the availability and the permissions that are required to be able to create those. We've covered what use cases there are for these templates and how we might get to them. In terms of the benefit of them, which is quite commonly discussed, um, these are really useful for when you have users who are working solely out of a model driven app. Okay. Obviously, these aren't accessible entirely through a Canvas app. They are designed for model driven apps usage and for when you have specific records selected or when you need to report on a specific view. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about a lot of the document generation that occurs in Power Platform. Might not just be might be able to be put in a model-driven app, but it's dependent on whether your users are going to be using and creating documents through that model-driven app to be able to do it. But that is our tour through creating templates in Dataverse and using them. Thank you for listening. I hope you found it useful and got to learn something new, and I'll see you in the next one.